Coming up on tonight's episode of Duck TV News, find out why the VP of Google was on campus, what one Eugene local is doing to reduce e-waste, and how the UO bike program celebrated Valentine's Day. All that and more coming up on Duck TV News. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Duck TV News. I'm your host, Alejandra Mendola.
And I'm Morgan Gwynn. Let's get started. Business might get a little easier for dispensaries in Oregon. This is being made possible by Oregon Democratic Senator Ron Wyden. He has proposed the S-420 bill to Congress. If this bill is passed, Oregon dispensaries will have more lenient advertising restrictions and easier banking access.
In other Oregon news, 3 architecture professors at the UO are suing the university for $4.3 million. The professors claim they were reassigned job locations because of their age. A court date has not been set. Duck TV News reached out to the university for comment, but they did not respond.
A local recycling business is giving a new meaning to e-waste reduction. Reporter Alexis Jones has more with the story.
Winafelli Recycling began in 2012 in an effort to reduce e-waste. Around 30 companies in Eugene have partnered with Winafelli to hand over their weekly e-waste so that it can be safely broken down and transported to a reuse facility. Owner of Winafelli, Tim Heilman, explains why breaking down these materials is so important.
Electronics, in particular, contain just about every element there are. And there's lots of pollution related to it in the poor handling of e-waste.
Winafelli receives thousands of pounds of e-waste yearly. Jolene Heilman is a Winafelli employee and says this amount of e-waste will continue to pile up if there is not a halt in the production of electronics.
I think something needs to change as far as our waste to consumption ratio on the planet, not just our country, but overall with humans in general. We're producing more than we need.
Winafelli also allows its customers to come here to their store and shop all the unwanted electronics that are still usable.
What happens is people will give us things that have some life left in them or might have another purpose. And so rather than just sell them as scrap, we're trying to encourage people to come by, and I always think of it as more of a rescue mission than a store.
Regardless of where you take your e-waste, leaving it unrecycled is not an option.
And I know it's convenient to just leave it on the curb or throw it in the dumpster and just pretend like it didn't happen, but it did happen.
Reporting for Duck TV News, I'm Alexis Jones.
For more information on Winafelli, you can check out their Facebook page.
Google, the #1 search engine, wants you to be able to trust the information you read online. The School of Journalism and Communication hosted their annual Rule Lecture on how Google is trying to be a more responsible news source for their customers. With the media constantly changing, Google wants people to be able to trust them as not only a search engine, but also as a news source. Richard Gingas, the Vice President of News at Google, says this is important.
We're living in such a different world that the very notion, practice, form of journalism needs to be reinvented. You know, from the business model to how we report to how we present what we've learned from those reports.
Towards the end of the lecture, there was a Q&A for students and staff. For more information, check out Google News. Now we're going to toss it to Brett and Alyssa for an update on Oregon athletics.
What's up, Eugene, and welcome back to another episode of Duck TV Sports. I'm Brett Taylor.
And I'm Alyssa Kobe. From strong starts by the Oregon softball and baseball teams to SixMan Football and high school sports, we have a lot to cover today. The Oregon women's basketball team will be playing against the UCLA Bruins and USC Trojans. The Ducks have previously beat the Bruins 72-52 and the Trojans 93-53. They will be playing at Matthew Knight Arena. The Ducks last played at home on Friday, in which the 3rd-ranked Ducks faced off against the 9th-ranked Oregon State Beavers. This Civil War game was a sensational sold-out matchup. This is the 2nd time the women's basketball team has sold out Matthew Knight Arena, with 12,364 people in attendance. The upcoming games against the Bruins and the Trojans will be the last regular season home games, so this may be the last look you can get of junior triple-double queen Sabrina Ionescu, 6'4" freshman Satu Sabali, and the rest of the women in Matt Knight this 2019 season.
The Oregon men's basketball team will head down to Southern California this week as they face off against the UCLA Bruins and USC Trojans. The Bruins beat the Ducks in their last meeting with an overtime victory, and the Trojans, as of late, have been playing much better thanks to star forward Benny Boatwright, who just set a new USC record with 10 threes in a single game against the California Golden Bears. But the Ducks have not been good on the road so far this season, and their road problems continued this past Saturday when they faced off against their in-state rival, the Oregon State Beavers in Corvallis. The Ducks shot a dismal 53% from the free throw line, and with star players such as Payne Pritchard and Kenny Woon combining for a total of 8 points in the game, the Ducks didn't stand much of a chance, losing the game 57-72. Every athlete dreams of making it big in their sport, but due to an underlying disease, former Oregon track athlete Kate Murphy had to put an end to her collegiate dream. Duck TV sports reporter Ruby Quintero has more.
Some athletes play a sport for pure enjoyment and often don't compete after high school. Others go on to compete in college, but only a select few can fulfill the dream of going to the Olympics. 19-year-old Kate Murphy began running track her freshman year in high school, and within just a few short years, she qualified for the Olympic trials at 16, running just 2 seconds faster than she needed to qualify. Although she didn't make it to the Olympics then, her goal has always been to make it to the big stage. But that's just a dream in the distance for Murphy. Her senior year of high school was a trying time in her running career. She began feeling intense pain in her legs, something she described as chronic. Murphy described pushing through the pain.
Typically, runners and athletes in general, like if they're feeling pain, they're gonna try to run through it. They're gonna try to push through because that's just what we're trained to do.
She often missed days of school to go to the doctor, but for months, everything came back inconclusive. Her father recalled his frustration.
The not knowing, your kid, you have a lot of desire in your heart for them to do well, and so, it's really, really hard for all of us to see all those things squash. It was starting to be a roller coaster.
After 8 months, Murphy was diagnosed with popliteal artery entrapment syndrome. This disease causes intense pain with every movement and inhibits the blood supply to Murphy's legs. She received 2 surgeries at Johns Hopkins Hospital. Murphy went through rehabilitation to get her legs strong again before her arrival at the University of Oregon to join the track team. After many complications, Murphy decided to medically retire last fall. Although she isn't running for Tracktown USA, she still wanted to be a part of the team as the equipment manager. She will continue training on her own in hopes of reaching the Olympic stage despite her disease.
I think setbacks are a necessary component to gaining maturity and also just getting success in the future, because it's just how you are going to respond to that adversity is going to make you better.
With Duck TV Sports, I'm Ruby Quintero.
Thank you, Ruby. All of us here at Duck TV wish Kate the best as she continues to try to beat the odds and make it to the Olympics.
The Ducks softball team has been turning heads since the beginning of this season 2 weeks ago. Currently, they have 7-2 record, including a big win against 5th-ranked Louisiana State. On Thursday, the Ducks will be traveling to Cathedral City, California for the weekend, where they will be playing in the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. They will play New Mexico State and Bethune-Cookman Thursday, Army on Friday, Texas A&M and Texas Tech Saturday, and then finish off the weekend against UCSB on Sunday. With promising performances by ace sophomore Jordan Dolly, who transferred from Virginia Tech to Oregon, and junior returning outfielder Haley Cruz, the Ducks have a strong team to build with. And after such a great start to their season, Ducks softball hopes to have successful Pac-12 play.
The Oregon Ducks baseball team will have their first home series of the season this week as they face off against the St. Mary's Gales. The Gales finished last season with an impressive 31-23 record, while the Ducks played up and down baseball and finished with a 26-29 record. However, things are looking up for the Ducks this season. Just last weekend, the Ducks took on number 8th-ranked Texas Tech in a 4-game series and gave the Red Raiders a run for their money, taking the first game by a score of 9-4. But the Red Raiders bounced back in the next 3 games, taking the series.
Small towns in Oregon are getting new athletic teams this year. Mitchell Ribberl has the story on the upcoming SixMan Football League.
When most people think of football, 11-man is what comes to mind. But for some small towns in Oregon, 6-man football is what they cheer for.
They're their town, so they'll travel with their town. And that's where, if they don't have a team, that's where those towns and small communities miss. A lot of it, that's their Oregon Ducks is their home team. So.
In 6-man football, the field is 40 yards wide, which is 10 yards less than a normal field. Some of the new rules prohibits the quarterback from scrambling, and it allows each offensive player to become an eligible receiver.
It was really cool, especially for the teams that haven't had a football team in the past years, you know. It's a really good opportunity for people to actually go out and be able to play football.
The Oregon School Activities Association created a 2-year pilot program for 6-man football that allows small schools that can't field an 8-man team able to play with 6 players. Even though the pilot doesn't allow for playoffs, the 6-man teams have agreed to create an unofficial postseason tournament until the league is fully adopted. These grandstands, they may be empty now, but come each Friday in the fall, you can find this one, along with many others, completely full of community members supporting their new team.
I mean, for us, we've kind of had a consistent community, but at away games, yeah, a lot more people have showed up to those. Even when we were meeting at neutral sites, we saw a lot of people.
While it may not be your classic football game, the league is already planning on adding 8 more teams next year.
But I think the most important thing to me is the community spirit, and that stuff's still alive. It's just out there, we gotta go get it.
Reporting for Duck TV Sports, I'm Mitchell Riverall.
Thanks, Mitchell, and be sure to go and check out a 6-man game this fall. And that's all we have for this week.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay up to date on all things Oregon sports.
Now back to Morgan and Alejandra at the news desk.
Thanks, guys. The UO Bike Program hosted a Valentine's Day crafting event called Hubs and Kisses for the first time in the EMU. During the event, community members and students crafted cards and gifts out of recycled materials and bike parts. The materials were donated by the UO Zero Waste Program. This is the first year the event has been held at their new location. They previously held the event at their 18th and University location. The bike program coordinator, Kelsey Moore, discussed how the move impacted the event.
We've started doing more and more programming in the EMU, which I think is a good move. It's just more center to campus. There's more students here late at night already, and so I think more people can see what's happening and think, oh, maybe I'll go to that next time, even if they didn't come this time. So we like this space for hosting.
To learn more about the bike program's events, visit their space on the ground floor of the EMU.
For UO sophomore Elijah Tan, playing with a yo-yo is more than just a hobby. Taylor Toe reports.
Elijah Tan was only in middle school when he picked up a yo-yo. 7 years later, he became a competitive yo-yoer. Tan has competed all around the world, including China. As Tan is performing his yo-yoing tricks, he hopes to stand out and surprise his audience.
For competitions, I would like to be able to not only just do a routine that I'm proud of while I'm on stage, but also be able to show off a lot of new things that people haven't seen before.
As much as Tan enjoys yo-yoing, one of his friends, Ian Conway, does too.
I like hyping him up on it and watching his competitions, especially when he's going to compete coming up soon.
While on campus, he's often seen with one yo-yo. He actually competes with 2 yo-yos in the 3A division. The 3A style is also known as a 2-hand string trick. 2 long yo-yos are spinning in different directions at the same time. One Drop Design, a local yo-yo manufacturing company in Eugene, liked how Tan made this technique look easy and asked Tan to be part of their team. Working with One Drop Designs gives Tan the opportunity to go to different competitions and to meet new people.
You show up and you're probably hanging out the night before with all the other people that just got there, because it's this great community of all these people that you get to see once or twice a year.
These competitions inspire Tan to continue yo-yoing and to get better. For Duck TV News, I'm Taylor Toe.
Thanks, Taylor. Tan's next yo-yoing competition will be February 23rd at the Pacific Northwest Regionals. That's a wrap on episode 4. Thanks for tuning in.
Be sure to check out our social media on Instagram and Twitter at Duck TV News. Have a great night, Eugene.